Feeling overwhelmed by the challenges of being a single parent? You are not alone. Welcome to Single Parent Reset, the podcast that helps you navigate the ups and downs of single parenthood and find the balance that you deserve. Whether you're a single parent, co-parent or solo parent, this is the show for you. I'm Orla and I'm a life coach for single parents and a single parent myself. I know how hard it can be, but I believe every single parent has the strength to create a life that they are proud of. For more information about me and the work that I do, please visit my website solascoaching.com. That is SOLAS coaching.com. In each episode of this podcast, we'll be shining a light on the unique struggles single parents face and cover the aspects of being a single parent that are often overlooked and left unspoken. I'll be sharing actionable steps to help you overcome these challenges and find more calm and fulfillment in your life. Single Parent Reset is your weekly opportunity to gain a fresh perspective, take back control, and feel more in charge of your journey. Do you ever find yourself doubting your abilities as a parent? Maybe there's a little voice in your head whispering that you're not doing a good enough job every time your child acts out. If that sounds familiar, then this episode is definitely for you. Today, we are going to discuss how to be more assertive and confident in your ability as a parent. Looking at how you can overcome any feelings of doubt you may have when it comes to your parenting skills, because it's hard enough doing it solo, but doing it solo and telling yourself you're not even good at it, it's making it impossible. It's a well-known fact that being a parent is most likely the hardest job in the world, but throw into that parenting alone and you have a whole new extra layer of challenges. There are so many aspects of parenting as a single parent that can make it feel like an impossible job to get right. When it is just you heading up the family, in charge of all the parenting decisions, both big and small, it can be exhausting to navigate each day trying to raise your children to be the best kids with what feels like little or no support, not even someone to make you a tea at the end of the day or say, I'll do bedtime tonight, you just go for a walk. And if you're a co-parent, you need to deal with parenting children who live across two households where you do not have complete control over what happens in the other house your children live in. Being a single parent, I'm sure you will feel familiar with one or all of these challenges unique to single parenthood, from feeling instant guilt when your child misbehaves, thinking it must be because they're in a single parent home, or the exhaustion of never having someone to tap in when you just need a break, or worrying your child is missing out because they don't have both parents under one roof. You could be feeling like you have to do everything, be the fun parent, the strict one, the planner, the spontaneous one, the nurturer, the disciplinarian. And then there's the isolation of parenting without another adult witnessing your highs and your lows, wondering if you're doing it right at all. But I know for a fact you're doing more than you give yourself credit for. And in this episode, we're going to talk about how to start believing in yourself as a parent so that you can be more confident, assured, and proud of the way that you're raising your children. A few weekends ago, as we crawled our way through January, I had one of my most challenging parenting weekends in a while. I had my son for the weekend, and we had a free Saturday stretch out ahead of us with no plans, just the two of us. In the morning, I spoke to my 5-year-old son as we discussed what we could do that day. And in the end, after some back and forth, we landed on going to a new local soft play that had opened. We'd been before and he had really enjoyed it. So we had our breakfast and I started to get ready for the day. Now, it was one of those days where everything seemed like a battle. From getting my son to get dressed, to trying to pack some lunch without him eating it all while I packed it. And eventually it was time to leave, and by this point, after a morning of tears and tantrums from my son, I was just beyond stressed. And then came the final task before we left, the shoes. I asked my son to put his shoes on, and yet another 5 minutes of negotiation started. This time it was about what shoes he would wear, because the shoes he wanted to wear were at his dad's house. I finally got a pair of shoes on his feet, and just as we were about to leave, he kicked the shoes off. Now, on a normal day, I would have been able to handle this mini protest, but not today. After a morning of non-stop pushback, I had had enough. I finally snapped. I put my bag down, took off my coat, and told my son we were no longer going out and he could watch TV. I then went to sit in another room and started to tell myself I was the worst parent ever. I had lost my cool and was not role modelling positive behaviour to my son, as I now sulked in a different room. I felt completely out of control. I mean, how could I not even get my son to leave the house? And I was now letting him watch TV all day. But then I quickly noticed the negative thoughts I was saying to myself, and I started to zoom out and look at this situation with fresh eyes. The previous weekends had been full on for my son, and I know my son well, and that he loves nothing more than a day at home every so often. So that was probably why there was so much kickback to even get out of the house on his part. And as for me, well, I 100% felt like I had let him down because I did not get the right shoes off his dad. And I felt guilty about that. But I told myself, mistakes happen, and this does not mean that I failed as a parent because he didn't have his favourite shoes. I reflected that it had been a particularly challenging morning, and it's okay to find it hard sometimes. That one bad morning with my son does not equal to me being a terrible parent. I gave myself time to recoup from the morning and let my son watch TV without feeling any guilt about the screen time, as I knew regulation myself was far more important. I then spoke to my son about our morning, and we both apologised and moved on to an evening of watching Gladiators, our favourite new show. Now, I share this story to help you realise that parenting alone can be incredibly challenging. There are so many factors that can lead you to thinking you are the worst parent. There are so many moments that make you feel like you're failing, but often it's not a failure at all, it is just a hard day. By recognising your pain points and challenging your thoughts, you can become more assured that you are the best parent for your children and not let that inner critic take over. And today I'm going to share some strategies to help you do just this. As parents, we often have the idea of what kind of parents we want to be. Patient, fun, always emotionally available, or maybe the kind who never loses their temper. But have you ever stopped and asked yourself, where has that idea even come from? Sometimes our ideal vision of parenting is based upon completely unrealistic expectations, ones that are shaped by maybe social media, our own childhood experiences, or external pressures about what good parents should actually look like in your culture. And when we fall short of that ideal, it can lead to guilt, frustration, and feeling like we are failing on all fronts. So, what I want you to do now is take a moment to reflect on your idea of what a good parent is and where it's come from. So, ask yourself, what kind of parent do I want to be? Get rid of any outside noise and any parenting books that you've read, anything you've seen on social media, family and friends' opinions. What does being a good parent mean to you? What values matter in your parenting? Once you've got clear on that, I then want you to ask yourself, is this ideal coming from me or from what I think I should be? This is where you really need to be honest with yourself. Are you trying to live up to an impossible standard? Maybe you feel pressure to be endlessly patient, to always have structured activities planned, or to never rely on screens for a break. But is that expectation realistic for your day-to-day life? And now I want you to ask yourself, if no one was watching, what type of parent would I be? This question is so good. When we stop worrying about how we look as parents and focus on what actually works for our own family, we can start parenting in a way that feels natural and sustainable and that will work for us. And last question, what is stopping me from being that parent? What's getting in the way of you being that ideal parent that you want to be when you stop thinking about everyone else and you focus on what works for you and your family? It could be exhaustion, it could be fear of judgment, or belief that it's just the wrong way. Get really clear on what's holding you back, because when you can name them, you can start working through them. So hopefully you now know that there's no such thing as a perfect parent, only the parent that works best for you and your child. So by reflecting on your expectations and letting go of what doesn't serve you and focus on what truly matters, you can parent in a way that feels more aligned and less pressured. Now that you are clear on what type of parent you are striving to be, that comes from you and not from how you think you should be as a parent, it's time to look at what to do in those moments when it feels like everything has gone wrong at once and you can hear that very loud voice in your head telling you that you are the worst parent in the world. I'm going to talk you through a concept that has helped me so many times when chaos has descended on my home and I feel like I am just not up to the challenge of being my best version of what a parent is. Next time you start to doubt your parenting abilities, for whatever reason it may be, it could be after a disastrous bedtime or you've just thrown out a perfectly good dinner in the bin after your child refused to touch it and had toast for dinner again. What I want you to do is stop and look at the situation at hand that is causing you to feel like you're failing as a parent and consider the following. What is my family's climate normally like? This is the general atmosphere that you have within your family. It could be one of listening, politeness, sharing, fun, laughter, and playfulness. And then reflect on the situation that has just occurred to make you doubt your parenting abilities. And ask, could this just be a bad weather day within my family's normally calmer climate? You may find that, in fact, you've cultivated a very pleasant long-term climate for you and your family as their parent. And like any climate, the weather can be changeable, and there will be, at times, stormy bad weather days. By taking this perspective, it can give you a chance to recognise that this is one isolated incident and is not a reflection of your parenting skills overall, because the climate is more important than the changeable day-to-day weather. I know for me and my son, it was just a bad weather day, the day where he wouldn't put his shoes on, and it will pass. However, there have been other times when the bad weather days have become more and more frequent, and when this was the case, I spent time recognising what were the triggers for these stormy days and what patterns could I notice. By doing this, I was then able to bring about bigger changes to bring more calm to the family climate and restore confidence in myself as a parent again. So sometimes it's just a hard day, and the best thing you can do is ride it out with as much grace as possible. Other times, if a challenge keeps coming up, it might be a sign to adjust routines, expectations, or even seek extra support. It can be too easy to feel like you need to do it all alone as a single parent, but I'm telling you now, you do not need to do it all alone. Seek out support and community. Connecting with other parents, whether they're single parents or not, is key to making your parenting journey a more enjoyable and vibrant one. When you speak to other single parents, you get the support and connection that you may need to help you realise it's not just you going through these challenges. All parents go through them. And if you don't even know where to start, even asking for the help that you need, or you don't want to feel like a burden to others, or maybe you're holding on to the belief that you have to do everything to prove to others that you can do it all alone, I then highly recommend a previous episode that I have done that covers all of this. The episode is called Asking for Help, a 3-step guide for single parents, and it was released in November. So I recommend you go back and have a listen to that episode. It will really help you break down how to understand what help you actually need, overcome any barriers you may have to even asking for the help, and then what you can do to start getting the support that is right for you. I promise you that asking for help and support is not a sign of weakness. What you need to do is view it as a sign of strength, that you know when and how to ask for the help to enable you to be the best version of the parent you want to be for you and your children. Our next point is the most important thing when it comes to parenting alone, and that is self-care. You cannot pour from an empty cup. You need to make sure you're looking after yourself, even if it means lowering your expectations of what a good parent means that day. For example, the day with my son recently, my ideal would not be my son watching TV for half the day, but that day I had to look after myself so that I had the capacity to look after him. And I always think with self-care, boundaries can be really useful because as single parents, we spend a lot of one-to-one time with our children. and having healthy boundaries in place is okay. It's ensuring that you get the downtime that you need for your self-care. And you're also role modeling to your children how important it is to look after yourself. So give yourself permission to take the time to look after you. And as we've already established, you do not need to worry about what other people think or comparing yourself to how other people are doing it. When you care for yourself, notice how that feels to the way you show up as a parent. Only you know what works best for you and your family. And the sooner you start living by that, the sooner you can feel empowered that you are being the best parent for your children. So there is no doubt about it. Being a single parent and having confidence in your parenting abilities can at times feel like an impossible task. But by being kinder to yourself and recognizing that yes, mistakes sometimes will happen and that's okay, but knowing that you're coming from a place of love and you know best for your children is what matters the most. I'd love to know, what are you going to do to make sure that you are kinder to yourself when it comes to your parenting going forwards? Thank you so much for listening to this week's episode of Single Parent Reset. You have taken 15 minutes out of your day to do something for you, and that alone is a step in the right direction towards living a life you deserve. In next week's episode, we're going to be looking at embracing the freedom that can come with being a single parent. A lot of the time we can focus on all the things that we can't change or can't do, but being a single parent brings such an element of freedom to your life that we will be exploring next week and helping you embrace that as much as possible so that you can see how much freedom really comes along with being a single parent. If you're interested in working with me one-to-one, please go to my website solacecoaching.com for further details. And don't forget to follow my Instagram page @solacecoaching for more insightful content on living a life to be proud of as a single parent. As always, if you find this episode useful, please share with your friends and family. Remember, many single parents may seem like they have it all together, but this could be exactly what they need to help them move forward today.